if this were an Elon Musk rocket, that's exactly what it'd be doing. Yes, we're kind of, we don't.
Yeah, there we go. Our stream is going.
Streaming it.
All of the lovely streamers of the world. And this thing is here.
A strong, powerful stream.
Sure.
Oh God!
I got a nice little cough going. I got a nice little cough going this morning too. I don't know why.
Well, I am sure that our reasons are different.
Uh-huh.
I just finished a very strenuous workout and I don't know.
I did not. I did not.
And I
just woke up.
I tend to, after doing extreme cardio, to have a bit of a cough afterwards.
Okay. There we go. The little notice just went out. Blah 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 blah
blah blah blah blah blah.
Okay. I guess we can just go.
Yes.
Here goes the going.
Here goes the going. Okay.
Welcome to Curmudgeon's Corner for Saturday, June 28th, 2025. It's just after 17 UTC as we're starting to record. I am Sam Minter. Yvonne Bow is here. Hello, Yvonne.
Hello.
Before I forget, before we say anything else, I just want to mention again, I put this in the Sam from the Future at the beginning of last week's show, but I'll say it here too. We are going to have our Curmudgeon's Corner meetup in Seattle in the next few days. So Wednesday.
In the next few days, on Wednesday.
Yeah, well, yeah. I'm not saying it's going to last several days. We're not having like a fire festival of Curmudgeon's Corner. You know,
that would be. Hey, let me call that Firefest guy and say, "Hey, look, we're trying to organize an event. Can you organize, the Firefest Curmudgeon's Corner special?"
Yes, exactly. Wednesday, July 2nd, we will be getting together in the Seattle area, probably in Seattle proper, although we haven't decided the exact time and venue yet. It'll be July 2nd. That's Wednesday.
Yes.
In the evening.
Yes.
And we will settle an exact time and place based on interest and who's coming.
Right.
Basically, if you're on our Curmudgeon's Corner Slack, you have heard about this already. If you're on the email list that I use to get like substitute co-hosts, you've heard about this already. But if you are just listening, you may not have heard about this, especially if you hadn't listened to last week's show yet. So here's the deal. We always tell you to go to curmudgeons-corner.com and find all the ways to contact us. Pick any way of contacting us that you would like, and let us know that you're interested in coming. And if you do that, we will make sure to get back to you with the exact time and place. Again, it's going to be July 2nd in the evening in Seattle, probably in Seattle, in the proper Seattle.
Yes.
You
go to work.
I'll be at work in Seattle during the day.
And I'm staying in the city. So
now we realize a couple of our listeners are north of Seattle. I actually live north of Seattle. So if we had like massive demand, maybe we'd move it slightly north. But I think downtown Seattle is probably where it's going to be. We're probably going to pick some restaurant. But if you are interested in coming, please pick any one of the ways of contacting us on curmudgeons-corner.com. Let us know, and we will put you on the list to tell you exactly where and when it's going to be. And also, if you have any constraints, like, hey, I'd really love to come, but I can only come if, let us know. We'll see if we can accommodate.
Right.
We may be able to. We may not be able to.
We'll try to be flexible.
So far, we have confirmation from Bruce.
I think didn't Bob say he was going to try to figure it out?
But Bob said he'd try to figure it out too, but we don't have final confirmation yet.
Okay.
So, but we probably got Bruce and Bob.
Okay.
There may be others. There may not be. Like, I think my wife has said she can come.
Oh.
You know?
Oh, cool.
So
okay. So that way, because I was telling my wife, I'm like, hey. So she was asking, is Brandy going to be there? And I said, well, it's I hope so. So
I think so. We shall see. Nothing's final. Nothing's final.
Nothing's final. This is fluid. The plans are fluid. It was like I of course realized this was now, but Sam was also kind of like me, where it seemed like, oh, I'm flying up there. It's like months away.
Yeah, it's the future.
It's the future, somewhere in the future. And I'm like, no, the future is like
now.
I'm flying Sunday.
Yes, which as we're recording is now tomorrow.
Right.
So, there is a good chance Yvonne will actually be in Seattle before I push out this podcast.
It's possible.
Because I got other things to do today after we record, so I'm probably not going to get to it till tomorrow. So,
well, anyway. I mean, I'm flying in the evening. I'm flying at night, so I'm flying at night. I'm taking this flight that leaves at 8:00, which is the flight that I took 6 years ago to get there. That was delayed to oblivion. Okay, that was literally left like 10 hours, 8 to 10 hours late. Hopefully that won't be the case this time.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. That was bad.
So this is one of the few times Yvonne and I are in the same part of the world at the same time. So we're having a meetup. So we'll see. And we know we have a few listeners in the Seattle area. So,
yes.
Come on board.
Come on.
I just yelled for no reason there. But okay. So the show as a whole, we will do the usual thing. But first I'll do a couple of movies. Yvonne will use the timer to keep me honest.
Where's timer? Shit. Let me get the hold on. Let me get the
timer. And then we'll do more serious things. And this is the kind of week I figure like we will let each other choose, and maybe somebody will go rogue. But really, I think there are three big things this week, right?
I have no idea. I gotta be honest. I don't know. In terms of like, look, I know a lot of stuff's happened, but yes. I'm in a little bit of a blur like right now because so much shit's been going on. I'm like it seems like a blur.
To me, the three big things of the week seem like. First of all, you'll be amazed.
Wait. This week, did we bomb? Was this?
Yes, the bombing of Iran was since
this
we
week,
recorded
since
the last
we recorded the last show. Okay.
Yes, I did insert a Sam from the future at the beginning
because
saying
it happened.
Right. Because we recorded Friday night and then the bombing was Saturday.
Okay. I wasn't here. That's why I said it's a blur. I wasn't even sure. Hey, did this happen like since the last show? The answer is yes.
Yes. So we bombed Iran. We had the New York mayor primaries.
That's right. That was this week too.
That was this week too. And we had a bunch of SCOTUS rulings at the end of the week. I think those are the three big things. So,
I am debating something. I came home. My wife tries to avoid the news. It gives her a lot of anxiety, and I totally get it.
I can see that. Yeah.
I look. I get it. I get it. It's just yeah. So I came home. I don't know. She saw something in the news, and I'm like, I could see her face. Like something's. I'm like, what happened? And I'm like, I don't know. I just saw something in the news, and I was just like, oh fuck, what the fuck? You know, it's so I
Mhm.
am like, yeah, okay, I get that. Okay, all right, yeah, I get it. So I I was debating, Sam.
Yes.
Let me give you, if I gave you an offer right now, say, look, we got a mission to Jupiter.
Okay.
And in order to do this, we need to put you in a cryogenic sleep for 3 years to make it there. And
Yes.
so right now, we will put you in a cryo sleep. Basically, you will not age.
Okay.
So we will send you to Jupiter. Okay.
To
Basically, you're
Jupiter.
not going to
Right.
lose those 3 years. I actually, I would like to see if I can take my family, so that way I'm like, I don't lose. They don't lose time either. Take a family. We're gonna
Okay.
put you in a
So we're
cryo
taking the
sleep.
whole family. We're doing like Lost in Space style. Go into the flying
Yeah. We're gonna
saucer.
put you in a 3 year cryo sleep. Okay.
And the question is, does Mr.
Would
Smith
you take?
sneak in and like send us off course? Okay, go ahead.
Well, but hopefully not. Okay. But so we'll put you in a cryo sleep. So the question is, would you take the gamble now on taking a 3 year cryo sleep, and that when you wake up, things will be better than it is now? Which, say you're not going to age.
Yeah, yeah. So
So when you
you're just
take
saying
that gamble
you're just
right
saying
now,
that in the end of the scenario is if you could just jump forward 3 years, do you think it'll be better or worse than now?
right?
It's going to be worse, no question.
You think it's going to be worse?
3 years from now, it's going to be worse.
I actually think that we will hit the bottom somewhere through the 3 years, and then it's going to be, at least the one thing is that while it may be worse, there will be the pendulum swing starting to hit the other way.
Mm.
So it won't
But
feel as bad,
okay, so for instance, Dems take the House
right?
in 26.
Dems take the presidency
At least
again.
that. Well, 3 years we're not
Three
going to be
years.
past
Oh, well, I
November.
meant 4 years. Well, yeah, 4 years, not three. Yeah, right.
Well, there's a difference there.
Yeah, four. Sorry,
Um,
sorry. I my math got fucked up. Yeah. Four.
math
Four
is
years.
hard, like Barbie once said.
Yeah.
Um, no,
If I gave you the
I,
gamble, this is the
I,
gamble. Sam, I'm gonna give you the gamble right now. Listen.
you
You're
may
not
be.
gonna listen. Listen, you're not gonna age one day.
No. I still think it'll be worse in 4 years. Like, here's the thing:
No,
you may
but
be right that we may have turned the corner, maybe,
that's what I'm saying.
but it'll still be worse than today.
It'll be worse, but here's the thing: don't you prefer that it
If
be
you're heading the right
worse?
direction.
But eggs, you see what I'm saying?
Well, this is that thing that I mean I've mentioned
Because
a
it
few
is going to
times.
get worse. You're just not going to know. You're just not going to be living all those moments. You understand what I'm saying? So when you wake up, you're going to be like with people that are like trying to fix the best. I mean, that's the gamble. Or the problem is, right, that you're taking that gamble, and whether you wake up 4 years from now, and not only is it worse, but they're making it worse. So which one are you betting on? Because remember, yes, you're right. It is going to get worse. The question is whether at that moment the swing is still
It's great that part's not even a question. The question is only, is it getting better or worse when you wake up? There's no question whatsoever. It's gonna be
right.
worse.
It's
Sorry.
going to be worse. The question is whether we turn the corner or we're kind of like heading again in the other direction.
Here's the deal. Even if we're heading the right direction again, it's gonna be a very, very long slog.
I get that, but
You
here's what
know,
the option I'm giving you.
you just want to skip. You just want to skip the trauma of watching it get worse day
yes,
over day.
yes,
Um,
yes. I'm just like, look, I know it's gonna get worse. Why do I need the details? I don't need the fucking details. I don't need the damn details. Okay, I know it's happening.
I would not skip. I would stick around.
No, but wait. But you see, the thing is, I'm sending you on a trip to Jupiter.
Yes, I know.
So when you wake up, we're going to be at the Jupiter Starbase.
Uh-huh.
That is not by Elon Musk, because Elon Musk will be dead in Mars. Hopefully, when we wake up, he will have crashed. You wake up, and part of the good news is Trump is okay. You wake up. Imagine you skip all of this. You wake up. Okay, everything's the shit, but Trump is dead. Musk crash landed into Mars.
Okay.
And yeah, everything else is worse, but you get those two bits of news when you wake up. Shit. I'm like, thank God.
See,
You know?
see, I would still like to experience the 4 intervening years and be awake when those things happened, if they happened. I don't think Elon's actually getting to Mars, and Trump will live until he's 193. So, but it's an interesting thought exercise, and look, it does tie into, like, I was going to say, yeah, I keep coming back to this conversation I had with a friend of my son's, who, like, a number of years back at this point, who was talking about how they would have loved to live in the 80s because things were better in the 80s. And they were, and I was like, no, things were not better in the 80s. And they were,
imagine if you're, listen, think about if you're gay, imagine being gay in the, you say you're a gay person now, move to how gay people were treated in the 80s.
Well, and here's the thing.
Holy shit.
I'm not going to go out of school. This person is one of the letters on the LGBTQ spectrum. And the thing that I did not think to say at the time, like I got to the point of saying, no, things weren't better in the 80s, especially, and because they said, especially for people like me. And I'm like, no, things were not better. However, what I didn't realize until weeks later, or at least days later, and I never went back and finished the conversation with this person, but the difference is the direction of change.
Well, that is, yes, but still,
it was worse back then.
I know
it was worse back then, way getting better. Whereas now it's objectively better in some ways, but rapidly getting worse. And
well, okay, but Sam, I think you're minimizing how really bad it was.
Oh, I know. But what I'm saying is the levels. It was worse then, better now. The direction is the difference. It was getting better then. This is one of these things
where it's like, hey, I lived in a mud hut with no running water. Okay.
Yes.
Because literally that's where gay people were. And oh, by the way, there were people trying to kill me regularly and attack me and harass me and refuse me jobs. These literally, we would refuse people jobs over being gay. Well, I still remember one story about an AIDS patient that, well, this is at the beginning of the AIDS epidemic, when they came to our store, okay, to purchase medication at the pharmacy counter. People were so freaked out because nobody understood anything about this that after the person left, cordoned off the prescription counter and like Clorox bleached the entire area. Right. Because they were scared they were going to get AIDS from touching the counter. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, think about. That's
look, I get it. But
so my point is that right now they have jobs. They have power. They have a lot of things, but obviously a lot of those things are being attacked. But it is from a position that is exponentially.
Right.
But exponentially better than it was.
Two things. How successful that is depends a lot on where you are. But also, my whole point was this. But
globally, Sam, I'm not just here. This is globally.
I know. But my point is just this is exactly parallel to your Jupiter scenario, right? It is that what you're talking about is not the absolute levels, it's the direction. You want to skip the years because you hope it's getting better instead of worse.
No, I get that. And no, but my point is that yeah, but look, one thing that I always, always have to be reminded is unfortunately how because we look at it from the perspective of our humanity and how our lives are relatively short in the grand scheme of
Yep.
things. That's just the reality. And that historically, progress has never been linear. And that's just the damn reality of it.
What was it? Hegel's dialectic?
Okay, I'm not familiar with that one.
It's basically that you make progress and then there's a counter reaction and you end up in the middle, and then you make progress and there's a counter reaction and you end up in the middle, and
basically,
this process continues.
Continues.
I will look up whether I'm remembering the right thing or if I just made something up.
It sounds very
well. I know it's the thing, right? That. I just don't know if that's the right name. Hold on. Oh no. What did I do? Okay, there we go. As just I'd forgotten to flip back to the tab that had the live thing on it, but it's still going fine. Okay. Hegel's dialectic.
Yeah. And
I am making sure. So, from Wikipedia, dialectic, also known as the dialectical method, refers originally to dialogue between people holding different points of view about a subject but wishing to arrive at the truth through reasoned argument. Blah, 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 blah. Hegelianism refigured dialectic to no longer refer to a literal dialogue. Instead, the term takes on the specialized meaning of development by way of overcoming internal contradictions. Dialectical materialism, a theory advanced by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, adapted the Hegelian dialectic into a materialist theory of history. The legacy of Hegelian and Marx. The legacy of Hegelian and Marxian dialectics has been criticized by philosophers such as Karl Popper and Mario Bunge, who considered it unscientific. It implies a developmental process and so does not fit naturally within classical logic. Nevertheless, some 20th century logicians have attempted to formalize it.
Let's see. That was a very big word salad that didn't actually say anything. Can I be honest? Sounds like AI wrote that damn thing.
Here we go. The dialectic is sometimes, this is the part I was saying about ending up in the middle. The dialectic is sometimes presented in a threefold manner, as first stated by Heinrich Mortis Challibaus. I'm sure I murdered that. As comprising three dialectical stages of development: a thesis, giving rise to its reaction, an antithesis, which contradicts or negates the thesis, and the tension between the two being resolved by means of a synthesis. Although Hegel opposed those terms.
Okay.
Anyway, so yes, thesis, antithesis, synthesis. That's we also talk about this as the pendulum swinging back and forth. I think you even started talking about that.
Yeah, I did say that.
But it adds the notion that each time the pendulum each time the pendulum swings, you're actually moving a little bit forward. You don't end up exactly where you were before.
Yes.
Of course, I think that's sort of optimistic. There are certainly periods of history where, your pendulum is swinging back and forth, but you end up worse than you were for a long time.
It's for a long time, but like I said, one of the things that go back to the fact that we don't, the relative grand scheme of things in terms of the history of the universe, our lives are just a minor speck in that time frame. Yes. And so if you look at it like overall, through the hundreds of thousands of millions of years, things have moved forward in some way. People aren't just hunter-gatherers um, doing subsistence out, like, attacking. I don't know. I keep thinking about this. There's a visual when you go on Spaceship Earth at Epcot, which goes through the history of humanity. It shows humans communicating for the first time, and like attacking some kind of very large animal, to try to kill it and eat it.
Right. Yes.
So it's kind of like that visual that I keep thinking about. Back then, in the middle
It,
of like a winter storm.
yeah.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I mean, eventually we'll get another asteroid killing us like they killed the dinosaurs, and then we'll be done. Unless we've all moved to Elon's Mars colony. But the thing is, we talk about these swings back and forth, but you have to remember that sometimes the swings are very, very long.
Yeah.
Arguably, after the Civil War, we had Reconstruction, and then we had the end of Reconstruction. And arguably, we didn't get back to the same place in terms of civil rights progress for 100 years, or nearly 100 years. And then, and hell, the Roman Empire fell, and Europe didn't get back to the same levels of technology and enlightenment and
For
blah, blah,
several hundred
blah
years.
for hundreds of years,
Yeah.
So, and hopefully this is a pendulum swing that lasts,
Well, one thing
less.
that is like,
But I suspect
I will say we're not going into
generations.
I don't know about generations. I mean, generations are relatively short. So that's like
Generation usually means about 20 years.
yeah, 20 years. I think that one of the things that I see from a lot of what's going on is that you see you shared a recent survey that showed
Yeah.
like, hey, how do you feel about this whole immigration policy right now that it's in force? And like literally like 70% of people say they hate it. 70%. 70%. I mean, it's not like kind of like this isn't like many other divisive issues where people are like whatever. People in theory thought it sounded great. In practice, they're like, we hate this. So,
right.
It doesn't even take that long in terms of like getting the general populace to hate it. Of course, now of course, it's how this turns into some kind of a political change. But I don't know. I'm an optimist, so I think that somehow, even through all of this fucking bullshit, that we'll figure out something.
I'm a long-term optimist. Like if you come back in 50 years, I'm fairly sure things will be better. But
I think
but
you think 50,
I'm,
but I say
I am less optimistic if we're talking 5 or 10.
I think if you look at how things have progressed, you look at every 10-year mark of the last 50 years, and you see how things radically moved each one of those 10 years. I mean, think about it. Look, just 10 years ago, who was president?
Abraham Lincoln. What? Am I wrong?
Yeah, you're a little bit off. It was Obama, for God's sakes.
Oh, yes, that guy.
I mean, think about what we thought. Listen, let me put it this way. Think about if you were a conservative back then, how you thought, how bleak it was for your thinking.
Right.
And think about the opposite, how we thought at that time. I was like, they're done. It's over. And look at that, the flip in 10 years. And look at the flip 10 years before. And look at the flip 10 years before that. Look, I think we're always prisoners of the moment. Okay, all right. And, so we'll see. 10 years from now, hopefully we're still both alive. We'll be 64 years old and recording this podcast at 64.
There's a song about being 64.
There's a song about 64? Fuck, I don't know that song.
The Beatles song. I don't like the.
I gotta admit, I don't like the fucking Beatles. I'm sure that is an unpopular opinion. I'll get roasted on, but I'm just not a big. I'm not going to say I hate the Beatles, but I'm just like the Beatles. I'm like, it's okay.
The song is "When I'm 64" by the Beatles, written by Paul McCartney.
Okay.
Who's still alive. It was one of the first songs he ever wrote. When he wrote it when he was about 14 years old.
Jeez.
But the song came out in 1966 when he was a little bit older than 14.
Well, he's 83 now, Paul McCartney. So
yeah. So anyway, a very popular Beatles song, and you're like, I never heard of it. I don't know what they're talking about.
I don't particularly. I look, like I said, I have never been big. I'm just like the Beatles. To me, I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm
okay.
a big Beatles guy.
Never not a big. How about the actual insects?
I like those better than the actual musical Beatles.
I'll mail you some.
There's plenty here. We're good. Okay, we don't need any in the mail.
Oh
okay? No. We're good. We're good.
Okay.
You can give them to me when I get there. There you go. You don't have to mail them.
Oh right.
That would be so nice for me. Oh hi! I haven't seen you in a few years. Here's some Beatles.
I'm sure the restaurant we'll be at will appreciate it.
Oh too, yeah, they'll be so thrilled by this. Yes, absolutely, of course.
When I open up the box at the table and they start running around.
Oh yeah, I'm sure the restaurant will be just thrilled with us there. Okay. All right, so let's move into movies. Okay.
Movies. I got two.
So I got to give you your 7.5 minutes.
Give me 5 minutes each.
5 minutes. All right. I got 5 minutes. Okay. You're on the clock. Okay,
I do. Wait. No, don't start it yet. I need to mention something. Alex has been bugging me. He hijacked the Curmudgeon's Corner Mastodon to post a poll after last week's show. For who should host the next episode of Curmudgeon's Corner, and I need to report the results.
Okay.
Because he is mad at me because I am talking to you right now rather than respecting the results of this poll.
Okay, so how many people voted on the poll?
2, and they were both my son.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Of stealing various other people's iPads. Or various accounts. So the choices were Yvonne.
Yeah.
Got 0 votes. Sorry. Screw GPT.
Yeah.
So not Yvonne GPT. Screw GPT, which is a custom GPT that Alex has constructed on his Chat GPT account, or on mine and yours, right? On his Chat GPT account, that he is, I guess, trained in some specific way that I guess he wants it to be the co-host. I don't know what he's trained it on or why, but anyway. Then choice also got 0 votes. Choice 3 was Yvonne and Screw GPT.
Okay.
Together.
And?
0 votes.
0 votes.
And the 4th choice, which got 2 votes, 100%, was Yvonne and Screw GPT Special Victims Unit.
There's a Screw GPT Special Victims Unit?
Apparently.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, I guess I have to talk to Special Victims Unit to see what its opinions are on stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, so I needed to report on that. And
so those are all the polls we got.
That's all the polls we got right now. And maybe
I guess we should start doing polls.
Maybe the next time you're out, Yvonne, I will try to talk to Screw GPT. After the experiment with Yvonne GPT, I figured let it go at least a year before I try to talk to AI again, because it was an interesting experiment, but it's not dull. It wasn't quite good enough yet. But after a year, it will have improved.
Yeah,
and it might be time to try.
Dull. He was not there.
Yeah. I told him,
and he was very agreeable. He just agreed with you on everything.
Yeah,
that's all he did.
Well, and I gave a transcript and said, try to be like Yvonne. And I think that failed entirely. Maybe
it didn't curse once.
No, and maybe what Alex has done is trained it more specifically, telling it characteristics of you it wants it to follow. I don't know. But the screw thing, like, it may be somebody else. He may be training it on. He's got a character called Screwdriver in one of his stories. Maybe he's training it on that. I don't even know. Anyway, movies. Now,
Movies. All right, 5 minutes. Okay, you're on the clock. Go.
I got 2 films, 5 minutes each. The next one is once again from the AFI list. This was number 18 in the 1999 AFI 100 Years, 100 Movies list. It in 2007, it moved up to 14th place. Anyway, Psycho from 1960.
Oh,
you ever seen it?
Yes.
It's obviously
long time ago.
So this is what
what's his name? Who was the star? I know the guy was Norman Bates as the character, but
Anthony Perkins.
Anthony Perkins. That's right.
And of course, it was an Alfred Hitchcock movie.
Yeah.
This is here's the thing. I, of course, had heard of this movie. I'd seen clips of the famous shower scene, but I had never actually watched the entire movie. I think I'd had spoilers for certain key, like, ideas from the film. Like, I wasn't entirely surprised by the ending because, this thing's been in the cultural zeitgeist for, 65 years? So, is that right? 65, 40 plus 20? Yeah, 65 years. But I'll give it a thumbs up. It didn't, I don't know. Like, I don't know how much of it was like, okay, I knew some of the main beats, so it wasn't as surprising as it would have been for new viewers in 1960.
Mm-hmm.
It's also, it does move slowly, but that's the style of the time. It's the Hitchcock style. It's sort of a slowly building tension, etc., that gets resolved at the end. I didn't know any of the main plot and the main characters. Like, what was going on with the woman that ended up in the shower. Mm-hmm. What was going on with her boyfriend, mm-hmm. who's also a main character in the movie. I had no idea about any of that
stuff. I watched this movie. I have to be honest. It has to be well over 40 years ago. Right. I have not rewatched it since. So the details of it, other than some of the scenes, are famous.
Right.
I don't remember.
Yeah, so it was interesting to me. I'm giving it a thumbs up. It was interesting to fill in the blanks from the knowing just those famous scenes and knowing some of the twists, but not actually knowing the plot of the movie, not having any idea about the actual main characters of the movie. Norman Bates is not the main character of the movie. Right. Like, there's this couple who's on the run who ends up stopping at that motel in the middle of the night, and then the things happen to him with Norman Bates. Right. And Norman Bates's mother comes into the plot as well in a famous way.
Yeah, the mother. Right. Yeah.
So all of that, but it was interesting to fill in the gaps. And it was well constructed, and it's a good movie. It deserves to be high on the list here. But you do have to put yourself into that 1950s, 1960s sensibility of movies that do the pacing is slower and all of this kind of stuff. But that doesn't make it bad. Like, these slow burn movies that sort of gradually build up over the space of the length of the movie. This is 109 minutes. I'm looking. Can be good. And it's done well here, so good movie. Okay. I didn't even use my 5 minutes. You got any
didn't.
Comments?
You still got a minute. You still got a minute left.
You got any comments on comments on Psycho?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Next. A very different kind of movie. And by the way, we're still in movies I watched like last September or something.
Okay. We got some time to catch up. Yep.
Yeah. September 22nd and 24th for these two movies. Very different kind of movie from 1992, Under Siege with Steven Seagal.
Oh shit! You watched that movie now? Okay, Oh, okay.
You have an interesting reaction here. What did you
Well, the
restart the 5
thing
minutes?
is,
Restart the 5 minutes.
yes, I did restart the 5 minutes. Well,
Good
the
job.
thing is, it has fucking Steven Seagal. That right now, as much as I remember that movie was, to my mind, in the past, a good movie. Okay, that was my opinion. I can't get past the fact that it's fucking Steven Seagal, who is a complete and utter douchebag right now.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think about that. I didn't even look it up. I am sort of remembering that's going on. Like what?
Like I mean, he got Russian citizenship, Sam.
Yeah, I'm looking. I mean,
he was in a Putin parade like a couple of months ago. The guy is like a complete fucking Putin sycophant. And oh, by the way, all the stories that have come out about him being a fucking asshole to everybody on a set, treating people like shit left and right, overstating all his martial arts, training, which everybody then found out that it was all a fucking lie, that people would come up and he would just lie about all his skills. Okay. Yeah, this guy is an asshole.
Yes.
But the Putin part is he is a fucking absolute, has been for over a decade, a Russian sycophant.
Okay. Lovely man. So have you seen the movie though?
Yes.
What did you think of the movie?
I liked it.
I must admit I liked it too.
It had, the plot was, other than some gratuitous, like, stupid sex, there was like some added, like, I don't know, the whole thing with the playmate coming onto the ship and the blah blah blah.
She jumped out of a cake or whatever.
She jumped out of that cake. It's kind of cheesy, but it was par for the course at the time. I think the entire plot was actually pretty good about the whole damn thing. I mean,
there was a lot that was like clear, and just for anybody who doesn't know, action thriller film, 1992. The fundamental thing is that there is a battleship, and there is an attack on the battleship where they sort of take over the ship, and
as it was on its way to being mothballed, basically.
Yeah, or whatever. There was like a final thing on it, blah blah blah, and they
wanted to steal nuclear weapons.
They wanted to steal stuff. There was a whole thing. They had a nefarious plot that was going to do all kinds of horrible things. This guy, Steven Seagal's character, was a cook.
Right.
But he was formerly, before he was a cook, he was like special forces and all this kind of stuff. And he ends up in a scenario where they take over the entire ship except the damn kitchen.
Right.
And then it's a one-man operation where he has to rescue the day, basically.
Well, he did recruit a number of people.
Along the way, he recruits people, but like he starts out he started
out by himself. Yes,
he started out by himself. And
because what had happened was that he had basically done something that got him reprimanded, significantly. He had done some insubordination of a high level, and it wound up with him basically that the only post after as punishment was that he could be only a yeoman or a cook. I remember the line specifically, and it was like, and that's how we wound up. He decided, well, instead of just being some shipmate that just like, I don't know, carries lines and like just ties the boat up or something, I'd rather just cook. So he wound up being the cook on the ship.
Yeah. So anyway, very unrealistic, of course, but movies like this always are, right?
Yeah.
Like, if this scenario actually played out in real life, this is not how it would be.
He probably would have been like, well, it starts off with the fact that if he had been that bad, probably he would have been, forced out.
There's our 5 minutes.
Yeah. So, so what's your conclusion on the movie? Wait.
I give it a thumbs up. It was a fine, again, this was one of
We had 1 minute left from the other one, so there you go. So you can.
Okay, this is, it's the kind of brainless action movie that's kind of fun to watch, but it's not deep in any way, shape, or form. It's just, the whatever action movie. I thought the premise was fun.
Yeah,
It's like,
and they
okay,
almost nuke
um,
Honolulu.
103 minutes of like escapism.
They almost nuke
Not,
Honolulu, and it got stopped at the last minute.
there. Spoilers, Yvonne.
Oh fuck!
You just gave away the ending.
The movie was from 1992. Okay, 1992. Okay, people. I mean, give me a fucking break. Okay.
And I'm sure no one could possibly have imagined that a movie like this ends with the hero succeeding.
Yeah. I mean, my God.
As opposed to,
because of course in all the Steven Seagal movies, he actually fails at the end. That's the one part that's very predictable about all of them.
The 5-minute montage of people dying painfully in Honolulu after he's failed his mission.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
That's how movies
the nuclear
like
holocaust. Yeah, and that's it. And then they nuke Honolulu and the end.
Exactly.
That's how it ends.
Yes. That's how it ends. Okay. Let's take a break, and then when we come back, unless you have other things, Yvonne, I'm thinking Iran, then the New York mayor, then SCOTUS.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. Break time. Break time. We're going to start out with this one.
AlexandZoe.com by Alex and Dad. Gaming, videos, and more from Alex. Elementary school by day, YouTube by night. AlexandZoe.com. Alexandzoa is ALEXMXELA, and .com is period and then COM.
Okay, we are back. So
we're back.
We obliterated Iran or something like that.
We obliterate. Okay, listen, this is the wackiest entire sequence of events involving some kind of an attack on another country. Because, okay, so after we finished recording the podcast, then we kept thinking that Trump was going to not
taco
this. Yeah, he was going to taco this thing. All of a sudden, we start getting news alerts that we had launched B-2 bombers. They got there undetected. They dropped a ton. They dropped a whole bunch of bombs, and we can't be exactly sure what bombs they dropped, but we think it's the bunker busters. Okay.
Yeah.
Most of them were on the big site on
Frodo. It's not Frodo.
Fredo. Okay, not Fredo. Okay. Okay.
And apparently we did do the thing where we dropped it into the air vent Star Wars style.
Yeah.
Like, because there was the one vulnerability of the net,
it's
ventilation shaft.
I mean, it's from the visuals that you can see, it's very difficult to assess what the damage is, because these bombs are meant to burrow into the ground and explode underground. And so even from a satellite view, you can't really see what the hell happened underground. I mean,
and also there's a lot of question about like how deep were the actual facilities versus how deep these bombs are supposed to go. Although they do a strategy where they drop multiple, so the first one will dig down a certain amount, and then the second one will dig down more.
Right,
blah, blah.
Right.
So unclear.
Unclear.
Let me say this. Part of what came out is there was a leak of an initial assessment that said
that we didn't get them.
There was damage, but maybe not a lot. basically, hey, we might have set them back a few months, but not like set them back years or completely eliminated the capabilities. There were also reports that since, Donald Trump was talking about like, hey, evacuate Tehran, and we might do this, we might not, we might do this, we might not, for like a week before we did it, that they'd actually taken some or all of the actual refined uranium that they had there out and moved it to locations unknown. And one thing to keep in mind, the estimates of how much highly refined uranium that the Iranians had, I've seen vary from 600 to 900 pounds. Most estimates around 600,
That's not
900
a lot.
pounds. On the,
I mean, you can
well,
move
and
that,
the thing is,
one truck.
well, and not just one truck, but also remember, like size wise, I made a joke on the Curmudgeon's Corner Slack of I'd hate to be the one like military guy, low level military guy who got the assignment of like taking this out in his pants. But look, that amount of uranium is very
right,
dense.
we're very heavy. That's right. Yeah, yeah.
It would fit in 3 shoe boxes.
So that's not a hell of a whole lot.
This is volume wise. This is not a lot. It would be easy to, 3 very heavy shoe boxes.
Right.
Well,
I'm saying you still need a truck because it's 900 pounds. You can't just put 900 pounds in the trunk of a car.
Or you split it up into a lot of smaller bits.
Yeah, you gotta right, Zach. Yeah.
So you could actually smuggle it out in your pants, putting it in your pocket. Each person takes a small amount,
Yeah, a very small
Of course, you probably don't want to be sticking highly radioactive uranium in your pockets, but teach their own.
Especially lead-lined pants.
Yeah, there you go. But anyway, there's a question about all this. The administration, of course, went nuts about the leaked preliminary report and blah, 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 and how bad that was. And the CIA put out a report a few days later saying, no, we did tons and tons of damage. Now,
I will say that, look, the thing is, I think right now, very difficult to know. I mean, for us,
here's the thing.
I'm sure that there are certain people that know really what the damage is. But for us,
here's the thing. The Iranians themselves know. We probably have some good intelligence somewhere, but nobody involved in this entire picture, and I put this in the Sam from the Future last week, nobody involved in this is a trusted narrator.
No.
You cannot trust what's coming out of the Trump administration. You cannot trust what's coming out of the Iranians until or unless we have a neutral third-party evaluation by like the IAEA or whatever the acronym is or whatever.
I got no idea.
We don't know jack.
I don't know. And it could be,
and even
it could be far more out of commission that the assessment. I mean, it could be not even because I'm saying I'm lying at that assessment. I think in part because it's very difficult to get that information when we're not. It's not like we sent troops on the ground to go and dig in there and find out exactly, take pictures and tell me exactly what the damage is. We got to be gathering intel probably from second or third sources.
And honestly, even if you do that, you don't know for sure if there's not another undetected facility that we didn't know about.
Right. So it's a tough assessment. Okay, no matter how you slice it.
But anyway, so we've had the sort of the people who, when you listen to experts talking about this, and again, understanding the exact damage, who knows? But the experts who talk about this say, like, even if the attack was massively successful, you're still probably only putting them back a year or something because they could rebuild from scratch if they needed to.
Right.
And that it would take some time, but not forever. Right. But meanwhile, you've got the administration has their talking points from Donald. It's like you all have to say obliterate every time. That's just like it's.
Well, we had that amazing press conference the other day at 8 a.m.
Hegseth
who gave a press conference basically to an audience of one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was just all so Fox could put it on TV, so Trump could see it, at the White House so he could see that on Fox what he wanted said was being said. That's it, right?
Yeah. And meanwhile, by the way, we did have a Iranian response, which apparently, like Donald Trump's own description of this,
oh my God,
is they called up and
hey,
said,
we're gonna hey guys, yo, okay, yeah, you bombed us. Hey, listen, all right, look, we're gonna bomb you at 8 o'clock, 8:30 tomorrow at
no. They asked what time would be good.
Oh no, wait, well, no, I forgot. Yes. What time would be good for us to bomb you? Oh, okay. What place? Okay. Great. Okay. Well, all right. So it's a date. All right. We'll send the bombs at that time. Make sure to be ready. Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Great. Bye. What the fuck is going on, Sam? The hell is this?
I
what the hell's going on?
I think George Conway actually put this best, that it looks like both what Donald Trump did and the Iranian response were both primarily performative. Like it was all about like, okay, let's do the show of doing this. Like, and again,
by the way, it's the same thing that happened. Remember when Trump went and like killed that
yes.
general?
Yes.
And then we had the attack on the military base by the Iranians.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything was like, whatever. I'm just like, what the?
Right. And look, the thing with, again, and the attack on the nuclear facilities may have done a lot of damage. Again, we don't know. We just don't have a trusted source there. But even if it did, it does not, quote unquote, end their nuclear program forever.
But here, wait. But listen, here's the thing important about that program.
Yes.
Almost all the information that we had leading up to that attack said that it seems that the Ayatollah and they didn't want to build a nuclear bomb.
Well,
everything's indicated that they weren't really trying to build a fucking nuclear bomb in the first place.
Well, here's the yes, but I think this comes down to the key difference between, we talked last week about the intelligence saying exactly what you just said versus the rhetoric about they could have a bomb in 2 weeks. And I think the actual reality from, again, when you listen to experts is the actual time frame, if they decided they wanted a bomb, would have been 6 months to a year, like if they made the decision. And I think that the key is that on the one hand, you have people saying, look, there's no evidence they're actually building a bomb. And they've actually got like mandates saying they're not going to from their religious leader. And so this isn't an urgent situation. And the other side saying, like, we don't care about whether or not they've made that final decision. We want to make sure that if they decide that, they can't actually do it at that point in any sort of reasonable time frame, that we couldn't stop them. Because we don't want to be in a situation where, okay, they've not built a bomb. They haven't decided to build a bomb. But suddenly one Wednesday, the Ayatollah wakes up and says, okay, now I want a bomb. And they have it 2 weeks later. They want to prevent that scenario. And people have pointed out, by the way, if you want countries that are in that scenario, like Japan's probably in that scenario. Basically, any country with a large scale civilian nuclear power capability, if they decided to, okay, we need bombs, they could do that fairly quickly.
No,
it's a question, but of course, Iran is
even though those bombs, I mean, they're kind of like, look, uranium bombs are like very basic nuclear bombs in the grand scheme of things. They're not.
Yes, we have much better bombs now that could have like 1,000 times the destructive capability. But having said that, I mean, even Hiroshima and Nagasaki were nothing to be sneezed at.
No. True. But the thing is the size. It's delivery of the bomb. It's all of these things. Right? It's not a very sophisticated bomb. It's not one that
Anyway, let me get back to my point, because
but-
we've gotten a far afield. My point was simply that it looks like from both the American and Iranian sides in this,
Which is trying to do a fireworks show using military, the military.
Now, look,
Between the U.S. and Iran.
Do I think Donald Trump actually wanted to obliterate the Iranian nuclear program? Yes, and he was probably told that this would do it. But I think in the end, it doesn't matter, because what matters is the show.
Yeah, well, yeah. Number
result.
one is the show, right? And then he could say it was a blitz. But that's the one thing. Sam, he doesn't listen. Sam, come on, man. Since when does Trump need facts? Look,
well, no.
Here's what he needed. He needed a show.
Yes.
And let's face it. Sending a squad of what is more showing? That sending an entire fucking squadron of fucking B-2 bombers, undetected, all the way over there and back, okay, and dropping bunker buster bombs, and then whatever the fuck really happened, hey, you just say whatever the hell you want to happen from it anyway, right? I mean,
right.
it's about the biggest spectacle you can do.
Now, here's a couple things in terms of what has gone on since then as well. First of all, you get the show. You get he was feeling shown up by the Israelis,
right?
And so this helps do that. But Donald Trump doesn't want this hanging on. He doesn't. He does not want the big war with Iran. Like people were saying, oh, look, anti-war Donald just did some bombing, but he very much wanted this to be a one and done. So immediately afterwards, he signaled it was a one and done. He then did that whole back and forth with the Iranians, say, to make sure that their retaliation caused no real damage. And then he announces a peace deal. He announces that there's a ceasefire between Iran and Israel, and everybody's done what they need to do. Let's call this
okay. I haven't checked. Well, I haven't heard anything else. Did the Israelis and Iranians stop shooting at each other?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The peace deal is holding. There was one thing, and this is where Donald Trump ended up saying they don't know what the fuck they're doing, where after the time set for the peace deal, Iran sent one more missile. And and that missile got intercepted, but then the Israelis retaliated for that one missile with another barrage on Iran. And Donald Trump was really upset because they'd both broken the ceasefire. He was mad at Israel because he's like, look, they shot one missile. It might not even have been on purpose. And you intercepted it. It did nothing. Why did you even bother retaliating? So he was mad at both of them. He yelled at both of them. He said they don't know what the fuck they're doing. But since then, the ceasefire's held. They both look and
well, I mean, Bibi got what he wanted.
Bibi got what he wanted. Absolutely. Now,
I mean,
still no ceasefire in Gaza, by the way. That's still going on, but different story.
Like Trump gives a shit about that.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, actually, he believes already he should be getting the Nobel Peace Prize, right? I mean, he's going over. Was it Copenhagen, right? Where they give
he has lined up. He and his people have been stating that he should get a Nobel Peace Prize for the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Rwanda coming together, that he's apparently working on. Although when somebody asked him about details, he had no idea what was going on there. But apparently they are working on something there. And it's his usual thing where he's trying to he's trying to buy them off, just like he did with the Abraham Accords in the Middle East. He wants a peace prize for that as well, by the way, and he wants a peace prize for India and Pakistan. And he's
been nominated by Pakistan.
Yeah, and he was nominated for a couple. Remember, anybody can nominate for the Nobel Peace Prize, and
I know.
But yeah, he's been nominated for a few of these at this point. I don't think he's going to get one right now. But, look, here's the thing, though. His little piece thing. I mean, it's been holding so far between Iran and Israel. It's been less than a week, but it's been holding. Who knows what's happening in with the Congo and Rwanda? Maybe like, from what I have not read very much about this, but it seems to be the bottom line is he's offering both sides a whole lot of investment, from people that he will make money off of, in order to come into their countries and flood them with money in exchange for them to stop shooting at each other.
Trump phones. They're going to make the Trump phones over there.
No, it's mining rights and things like that. But yes,
not Trump phones.
Mining rights, real estate, whatever, the usual kinds of things.
More resorts, casino, golf courses.
But honestly,
because that is, casinos and golf courses are really the crux of our economy. You do realize that.
But look, here's the thing. If he can actually go to one of these places and flood it with money and get them to stop shooting each other, I guess I have to reluctantly say, okay, fine. But anyway, no, he's rooting for his Nobel Peace Prize. But, in the end, if this does end up completely performative, sort of everybody does a couple shots at each other and then a week later it's done. He's calling the Israel-Iran thing the 12-day war. And then he won. I mean, he got exactly what he wanted out of it. It looks good for him in the end. And, we and all the people, once again, all the people talking about the worst case scenario, as I'm doing stuff, all the people talking about the worst case scenario end up looking like, oh, you're a bunch of fools. None of that happened. It was fine. He hit the place in Iran he wanted to. He had some good results. He obliterated it. And now 2 weeks later, we've moved on and we're talking about other things.
This is the thing about I hate about people playing Russian roulette. Okay, just because you hit a fucking empty chamber, okay, this time, it doesn't mean it was a reasonable thing to do.
It was fine, Yvonne. It was just fine.
Yeah, it's fine. We keep playing Russian roulette with this shit. And, the chamber was empty. You say, there's nothing to worry about.
Well, and this is, I mean, we're seeing this over and over and over again, where Donald Trump does the very risky thing, and he either tacos or he gets lucky.
Listen, speaking of risky things, it wasn't on the agenda, but since you're talking about risky things, okay, look,
yeah,
everybody keeps talking about how, you see, the economy hasn't crashed, right? Listen, every fucking sign right now is pointing to a seriously deteriorating economy, Sam. And it's just, he hasn't crashed. You see, he hasn't crashed it yet. I mean, the inflation, he keeps insisting on the Fed lowering rates. Inflation is showing higher. New college graduates are finding a worse job market they have ever found. Housing sales are slowed into the crapper. I mean, by the way, the revision on Q1 GDP came in and it showed that it was even slower than originally thought. Okay,
it was negative, right?
Yeah, it was negative in the first one, but they revised it more negative. Okay, right. I mean, I'm like,
when do we get the Q2 number? When do we know if we got the 2 quarters in a row of decline?
Well, soon. Quarter ends now. It's soon. It's in a few weeks.
Like a few weeks. Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't sure what the delay was on the June numbers. Like,
it's sometime in July. Yeah, it's sometime in July. It's like mid-July.
So what's your bet? 2 negative quarters in a row or no?
I think that the answer is going to be yes, because there's been quite a lot of layoffs and things, and this economy is not firing on all cylinders, Sam. All these immigration raids are causing problems with farmers, problems in a whole bunch of industries, construction, all over the place. This is this is not. This is all bad. It's all bad right now. And the thing is, it's like everything. It's not happening at the snap of a finger right now. A lot of what we're seeing is a lot of stagflation. Okay. And so, they're all saying, hey, right now, I haven't seen the prices go up. Just listen, just wait. Anybody who's going to shop for toys this Christmas, what we got in tariffs right now is going to be in for one hell of a surprise.
So there was a specific report on toy prices in, I don't know, the New York Times or somewhere the other day. And I remember, and it's saying, oh, toys are starting to really go up, blah, blah, blah. And then you read the article and it was only like 2% or something on average. Now there's some things like they're going up more, some less, but, and I was like, oh, 2%, that's not that high yet. Like, cause what we've been hearing is things like things are going to double. We're not seeing that.
But here's the thing, right? But look, like this is a repeat of 2020 with inflation. Okay, where we had the shortages and whatever, and the prices didn't spike immediately. Then 6 to 12 months later, then everything started shooting up. It's not immediate. This is, people are the worst at what shit that has delayed effects.
But just to be fair, though, like just a couple months ago on this show, we kept talking about when are we going to actually start seeing.
I said, wait till July. We're not July yet. Okay, listen.
I remember early conversations where you gave earlier dates. They've moved.
No. Go back and look. I said that you're going to start seeing the effects trending into July, and the reason I said that was because of the huge inventory buildup that happened prior to that. Okay, and because we also had to remember we also had the delay on a whole bunch of them as well.
This is what I was going to say. It's like, we talked a number of times very early on about potential effects hitting as early as like March or whatever. But what's happened, and this is where the taco comes in, right? Things keep getting pushed back or delayed, lowered, whatever. So at one point we were talking about the tariffs on China that would be like, I don't know, 8,000% or whatever the high number was, 150, whatever. They were lowered after one of the back and forths. There have been multiple delays where, there's going to be this big high tariff as of this, 60-day delay, 90-day delay, 30-day delay, whatever. And then by the time we get almost to the point where it's going to hit again, guess what? It's delayed again, or it's modified again. And so a lot of things that were going to be 30, 40, 50, 80, 100% are the actual tariffs that have really been in place have been much lower, like 10%, 20%.
Yeah, right. We're at the baseline of 10.
And this is the kind of thing, by the way, where lots of folks have said, the 10 to 20% tariffs, things in those ranges, a lot of businesses can absorb some of that in their profit margin.
Sam, but then
a lot of people don't. The 10% difference is harder to notice. And the question is, when or if do the really big ones actually hit that, that people will notice right away?
Listen, right now we are getting close.
Even by the way, the 10-20% people will eventually notice, and oh shit, this is more expensive.
But here's the one thing.
They really notice when the
inventories, price protection, inventories. Companies are kind of like gambling. Listen, a lot of companies right now have been gambling a little bit on the taco thing. Okay, so at first, remember, a lot of companies went and said, no, we're going to hold prices until so and so forth. New model year for vehicles is coming up pretty soon. Okay. a lot of the deadlines are coming up like right now. Okay. So you're going to have, it's just because he keeps negotiating. But if none of listen, right now, we are not close to any deals with anybody, any real deals. Okay. At all. So, and the other effect that you're seeing is that in the economy, this is where it starts really. People are not hiring, they're not spending, they're not investing. This gets, this starts translating into it. And by the way, the labor shortages, Sam. What happened the last time we had labor shortages? What was the thing that happened relatively quickly? What happened to employers? They started desperately paying people more because they
you're
couldn't
talking
get
during
people.
pandemic during that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Listen, at some point, that's going to start translating into stuff. It's just, it's kind of hard to predict. It's something that, because things don't happen like in some kind of like a linear pattern. It's kind of pushing on a string. Okay. As these things happen. Okay. So the effect, exactly. Hey, you do this over here and it has to translate through so many channels. When exactly do you see it at the other end? Predicting that exact timeline is hard. But listen, you've already done all those shocks over here. It's reverberating through the damn supply chain. At some point, the other day, Ford went and said, hey, we just had to shut down a factory for several factories for 3 weeks because we can't get magnets. Okay? Hey, you've got farmers continually saying, hey, we can't pick fields. We don't have people. Okay? These are the fucking waves in the middle. Those don't translate immediately to the field. But this shit keeps piling up and more and more and more of it. Listen, I can't tell you exactly when, but I can tell you it will happen. It's just a question of when, but it's tough to tell you exactly when it gets through.
And also, like, it's hard to say how bad, especially with a lot of these numbers fluctuating and policies changing all the time. Like, are we going to have, is inflation going to spike to 5% or is it going to spike to 30%?
Exactly.
And there's a big difference in how those would be experienced by the general public.
Right.
Or
listen, we've already seen that 10% inflation is might as well be 100 in the US.
Well, because I mean eggs. That's why Harris lost, right?
Right.
Eggs.
Right.
Which, by the way, have not gone back down. At least not in a lasting way. Like,
so wait, so he didn't. I thought it would go down on day one. Wasn't that the thing?
Eggs. Yes.
Yeah. So no, he didn't get price of eggs down on day one. Oh well.
Donald Trump could solve the egg problem with, a WKRP style helicopter drop.
Oh yeah, that would be. Anyway, all right. So moving on.
Or eggs out of the helicopter. Give it.
Like I inserted a subject in the middle. Okay, moving on. What are we going to talk about now?
Are we were supposed to be talking about Iran? Did we finish Iran?
Yeah, we finished Iran. Okay, we ran it out of town.
Then then let's take a break, and then we will come back and talk about the New York City mayor and all of the implications. Because some people are very happy, some people are freaking out. We'll talk about all that. Here we go. Okie dokie. Here it comes. It is just my internet being stupid.
My internet is being stupid. It is a new song we will make. I'm tired. What's wrong? I'm really tired.
It's amazing.
Get the show on the road.
There's a road? There's a road? Oh my god, there's a road.
Okay, we're back.
We are back.
So
what do we got now?
We got
the
the
New York City mayor.
yeah. Now we have not talked about this at all on the show, and it's
So
barely even showed up on the
communism,
Curmudgeon's Corner Slack.
Well, here's one thing. Okay, I had seen that a lot of the polls showed Cuomo. I'm sorry, get that name confused. Anybody that read the book Primary Colors understands why I call him Ozio. Okay,
That was about
his father. It wasn't even him. Yeah, but well, Cuomo was in the lead, but the polling for these is kind of like, especially with the ranked choice.
Here's what people expected.
People expected to go into a second round.
Well, here's what people expected, even with the ranked choice, was that Cuomo would lead in the first round.
Right.
And then once you added up all the ranked choice, it would be really close between Cuomo and Mamdani. Now that had changed over the last few weeks. If you had looked 2 to 3 weeks ago, everybody was sure this was just Cuomo. Done.
Right.
Cuomo would win.
Right.
Mamdani, over the last few weeks, closed the gap to the point where people thought he would lose the first round, but after ranked choice, it could go either way.
And so you got some key endorsements. AOC came out for him. Bernie came out for him. And lo and behold, Sam, he won.
He won. Now, he has not officially won yet because they haven't done the ranked choice calculations, but he had enough of a lead and enough of sort of cross endorsements from people at third place and below that everyone expects that he's
Cuomo conceded.
Yes, Cuomo conceded the primary, but has not yet ruled out running as an independent in the general.
I mean,
and Adams is running as an independent in the general.
I listen.
And of course, there's a Republican.
This is, by the way, when people tell me about we want to do something to get rid of certain people in the Democratic leadership. This is the kind of people I agree. We need to get out of the fucking Democratic leadership. Okay,
like Cuomo.
Like Cuomo. Listen.
Here's the thing.
Cuomo. Okay, look, listen. The Cuomos need to be gone. Okay, the Schumers, the Cuomos, those people need to be.
This is the thing that was extremely disappointing to me about this. Looking at the New York race, is not just Cuomo himself, but all the endorsements Cuomo had from the Democratic,
which he should listen. I'm sorry, fucking Cuomo. There was a reason he quit for being governor. The guy is a fucking scumbag. Okay, I don't care if he has the positions I have now. Look, if you're telling me that we're running fucking Cuomo versus Trump, would I hold my nose and vote for Cuomo? Yeah, but shit, man, this guy is shit. It's just he's less shit than the other guy. It's the only reason I would wind up voting for him, but I don't want him.
The only acceptable response from the quote-unquote Democratic establishment to Cuomo even trying to run
is that they should have just said, fuck you, get out.
Yeah. I mean, there should not have... There shouldn't have been endorsements. There shouldn't have been money.
You know what? We had, what's his name up in Minnesota? Franken fucking, I mean, Jesus Christ. What the fuck? What the hell did we make Franken resign for? Over what? What? over some pictures that were like kind of suggestive because everybody around there actually said, no, he wasn't like that. It's just the pictures kind of like made it look bad. And I'm like, I got this motherfucker who, on the record, there is a series of serious accusations against this bastard. And then we've got people all endorsing him. I do think that there's a number of them that I've seen that flipped already and have already endorsed.
Well, so
I can't pronounce his last name.
Mamdani.
Mamdani. I got to pronounce
There's a
that I've
famous-
already flipped and have endorsed Mamdani after he won. Okay, or at least is projected to win at this point. That I've already done that. Okay, and they need to get with a program, but it's just we can't be running these assholes. We can't be running Cuomo's.
Well, even afterwards, you mentioned there's some people that have flipped. There are some people hedging their bets who have congratulated him but not endorsed him, and it's like, come on, people.
The voters have loudly told you, okay, we don't want more fucking Cuomo's. End the story. And you know what? And what this guy is bringing to the table. He keeps being said that, he's some kind of fucking communist. He's bringing to the table the energy and the kind of stuff that we need right now.
We have talked before about energy and fight and just getting it. Yeah. And Mamdani does those things.
All those things.
Like, he's charismatic. He's young. And he is unapologetic about his views. Now, people have, he's way to the left. He's talking about like government run grocery stores. He's talking about free buses. He's crazy.
Mike, I'm sorry. Here's my problem with people. Would they think that, for example, free buses are some kind of fucking, like Fidel Castro kind of program? I mean, what the fuck? I'm sorry. You know what? I thought about it. I'm like, he's totally right. Why the fuck aren't the buses free? The only people that take the fucking buses are the poorest that we have out there. I know towns that have free trolleys and shit and whatnot for people to move around town. Okay? Why the fuck shouldn't the goddamn buses be free? We're charging the people that can least afford that, and that are the ones that use the damn service the most.
Just to be clear, in a city like New York City, buses and subways are used by lots of people.
No, not as much. No, subways more. Buses not as much. Okay, yeah. I mean, it's very important to make that distinction because the subway is far more, across the economic spectrum, but not as much the buses. Okay, if you go to almost any city, the buses are usually, because some guy that, you see like people go into the train station, right? And they drive their car to take a train, to take, let's talk metro, but, Long Island railways, whatever are those, right? They go in a car. Then you've got the people that need to take the bus to get to the damn station, okay?
Right.
Those people are far lower in the economic strata. So, you know what? They should be getting a damn bus for free.
Well, and there was an interesting thing where I think it was it Bill Kristol, famous conservative, who like made a comment on one of the social medias this time around, saying, actually, free buses might be okay.
Yes. What the hell?
Because he's like,
it's free buses.
He's like, it's a common good. It's positive externalities. It might actually make sense to use taxes for this instead of user fees.
Sam, I cannot come up with a good fucking reason why the hell we need to charge for the fucking buses. Can you?
Well, the counter argument would, of course, you would have to raise taxes to cover it a different way.
Oh, by how much, Sam? Come on, give me a fucking break.
Yeah. Anyway, like the point is, my point is, even if you actually look at the policies he's proposing, none of them are actually all that crazy.
No, none of them. But listen, this whole thing is, Sam, The whole thing about it, first to start off with this, I do think that African Americans in New York City voted more for Cuomo than for him. But I do think that in part that is because African Americans, and I understand why, they tend to vote more for the Democratic establishment more than others because they've gotten burned so many times by other fucking people. Okay. So they are loath to vote against the people that, for the most part, have delivered for them. Okay. And I get that. And I get that concern. Okay. Given that in our country, probably the class that has gotten the shittiest deal over our history has been them. Okay. You know, I get it. So you don't. Why do you want to vote against the guys that have consistently delivered for you, even if it's fucking Cuomo? Okay, all right. So I get that. So that's one group that I understand. I also think that I think that some people like Bloomberg probably in their head are more like thinking of general election electability.
Well, look,
sounds the kind of like
here's the thing. Here's the thing.
That bullshit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know completely, and this ties exactly to what we've been saying and why Zamdani is a breath of fresh air again here.
Zamdani? Just
did I mangle it?
Zamboni?
Mamdani.
What are you doing to the poor guy? I like the guy. Go on, learn to pronounce his name. I like this guy. I really like this guy. By the way,
I gotta find this stupid clip from his debate, and I'll maybe when we take the next break, I'll like find the clip of when he spells his name and stuff. But anyway, people have like done like remixes into music and all this kind of stuff of it. It's cool.
Mispronunciations of his name.
Yeah, it's a clip from the debate where he starts out slamming Cuomo about like all the things that Cuomo has done that that are bad, and then because Cuomo was also routinely mispronouncing his name, and so he ends the whole thing by saying, "By the way, it's Mamdani, Mamdani. You should learn how to pronounce it." Anyway,
I love that. You see, I love that energy. Fuck,
Yeah, exactly. But here's the thing. Even with the positions, the key is to me that he unapologetically follows. Hold on. Hold on. 132. Here's the thing. With all of those positions, whether you agree with them or not, he doesn't apologize for them. He owns his position and he defends them. And one of the things that, and I mentioned this last week and the week before, and probably more often, there was a brief moment where it looked like the Democrats had learned their lesson and would actually stand up and defend their positions. But then they started retreating again from all kinds of things.
Yeah, this has been happening in recent time. Yes.
You have them running from defending.
You had the fucking like Newsom for a couple of months, trying to ingratiate himself with like fucking like right wing lunatics and stuff or whatever, bringing them on the podcast or whatever. Right now, I did more than once, and he has completely done a 180 on that. I give him credit because he's completely done a 180 on that and said
the thing is Mamdani, in New York City with lots of Jewish people, was asked about whether he believed Israel should exist as a Jewish state. And his answer was, I believe Israel should exist as a state with equal rights for everyone. I don't believe in states based on ethnicity or religion. I don't think that should be a thing. And he said it outright and defended that position. He didn't run from it. He's being accused of being a socialist for the buses and the grocery stores and all this other. He embraces the positions and goes for them. Whereas you've got all kinds of Democrats like running from the trans issue, running from the immigration issue, running from all kinds of issues
Well,
where they're
it's like I said, it's like this whole thing
position.
about, instead of like explaining, oh, well, you're pro-abortion. No, I'm not pro-abortion. I'm anti-choice. Then they go like, well, we need to consider the, the religion. No, asshole. No, stop fucking like apologizing for being pro-choice. Stop fucking apologizing for being pro-human rights. Stop.
Yes. And for a while, they were running from guns too. Like, no, just own it. And this is the thing, that one of the reasons everybody, and I hate sounding like a 2016 Bernie Sanders supporter, but one of the things that the Democratic establishment is like pissing their entire base off is because they're trying to do this triangulation. They're being so afraid of alienating the median voter. They want to, they're all focused on how do we get back the Trump voters. And so we have to moderate, and we have to be more conservative, and we have to run away from all the liberal views, let alone progressive or socialist views. And in the process, they make themselves seem like weasels who don't actually believe in anything. They're doing polls and trying to modify their positions to match the polls and all that. No, you want to lead, and you want to lead with a bold vision. And I mean, look, fucking Donald Trump, I hate the stuff that he is won on, but the thing is, he will unapologetically come out there and say the Mexicans are fucking rapists. And and people, even when he lies constantly, but people view him as authentic and they resonate with that. And Mandani, the same thing. Like he's just,
well, he's not doing the lying part.
No. But the same thing.
No, but not apologizing over his
not position. Apologizing for his views. I have this view, I have this position, and I will defend it. I'm not going to go in there and, oh no, some donor said that this made them uncomfortable, so I'm going to change my position, or I'm going to hide it, or I'm going to do whatever, or oh no, there was an attack ad. No, own it, run with it, defend it, say, and again, like maybe some of his position, I mean, so far I haven't heard anything actually too unreasonable from this guy, but let's say some of his positions are too far left for me. He is still, I still will respect him because of this, because he will come through, and because, and also just from a other stylistic point of view, he's interacting directly with the people. He's doing social media well. He's walking up and down Manhattan, like saying hi to people on the street and stuff, and doing all of that. It all comes back to, he's not hiding. He's not like everybody on the Democratic side. No, I shouldn't say everybody. A big chunk of the leadership on the Democratic side. And like some of this, I know Yvonne gets testy when people say this. Some of it does correspond to age, but not entirely.
Not entirely.
Like the key, I'd say there is a tendency for the people who've been there for 30, 40 years to be less in touch with than the newer people, but it's not universal. There's some older folks that get it. There's some younger folks who don't, but like,
there's a whole bunch of younger folks that don't. Look at fucking Steve Miller, for God's sakes.
Yes.
The fuck, look at all these fucking people. Like,
No, but my point is though, like this whole tendency in a lot of the Democratic leadership to be so shell-shocked, and even more so after they lost this last election. They're all like in a defensive crouch again and not willing to actually be bold about fucking anything.
Okay. And there is one thing about all of this.
Fight.
But there is one thing about this. It's only been a few months. As much as we want, as much as we want to make it, oh my God, whatever. In real terms, it's only been a few months. And I think that what needs to happen, and what is starting to happen is guys like him, okay, start getting support. Okay,
Yes.
guys like Newsom start fighting. People like AOC keep the fucking pressure, like Bernie. All these people get out of this fucking like ridiculous position of trying to and go out and tell these people to go fuck themselves. Okay, literally, this is what starts happening. But I do think that the voters, you know, the significant thing about New York is to show you, hey, stop being a fucking chicken.
Yes.
And go out and fucking fight instead of trying to ingratiate yourselves with these ridiculous positions and people. Period.
Yeah. And look, there's some people saying that, look, hey, this might work in New York, but it's not going to work in the rest of the country.
Bullshit.
And look, there are two things here. One, calling yourself a democratic socialist and pushing for government-run grocery stores might not work in, purple parts of the country. No. Maybe it would, honestly, but maybe not. But the thing that matters, and this is another democratic wonk thing, they all get back to like, well, this policy, that policy, this policy, that. The important thing here is attitude.
Yes. That's it.
Now, of course, I don't want somebody with a great attitude with policies I absolutely despise, but you need someone with the right attitude coming into this. And Mamdani shows that. And and the folks we have in leadership are like paralyzed. And maybe you're right. Give them a little time. They'll snap out of it. But I feel like you need to have the Mamdanis of the world actually win. And like, he's still got a general election. I think he's got a good shot, but who knows what'll happen in November.
Can I be honest? Eric Adams way overestimates his popularity.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
I mean, and Cuomo is going to find that his popularity right at now, after people realize that how do I say his name again?
Mamdani.
Mamdani. I'll promise to get it right in the future. After Mamdani's real polls and numbers and support comes clear, Cuomo is going to collapse very quickly. That's my feel.
I know from what I understand, he's waiting until he sees, does he close the gap a little bit after the ranked choice calculation happens? And if he makes it closer, he may do the run as an independent thing. I hope he doesn't. But here's the thing too, that you've seen so much panic. Like, there are lots of Democratic establishment folks who have been like, Mamdani is going to hurt the Democrats overall. This is the worst possible thing that could have happened to the Democrats. You've got like Wall Street types like expressing panic over, oh my God, the socialist won. They need to get the fuck over that. And I think, you've got a lot of these establishment folks who just fundamentally are stuck in, we're going to do it the way we've always done it. And part of that is you have to be next in line and all of this. And sorry.
You sound worse than I do. Anyway.
Yeah, thanks. And part of this is you have to be next in line and you have to wait your turn and blah, blah, blah. And so, of course, the person who's been there 30 years is going to do stuff and be the one in charge. There has to be a pragmatic, you're what works, what doesn't, what excites people. I've seen people criticize and say they're commissioning all sorts of studies and stuff to try to figure out why Democrats lost young male votes and why the base wasn't excited and blah, 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 blah. Just take a look.
Yeah.
Take a look at what's actually working here.
Right.
This isn't something you need to spend millions of dollars on consultants to tell you need like a Joe Rogan of the left or whatever. No.
By the way, just so you know, Joe Rogan has been lately like ripping Trump and the administration over and over on a whole bunch of different things. He had Bernie Sanders on recently, by the way. And all of a sudden he's been like, I don't know. He's been, yeah, but you don't need these studies. I mean, it's very, the reason why is it's right in front of your face, and they're fighting it for no good reason whatsoever. I mean, they're fighting the solution for no good reason whatsoever.
Right. Okay. Let me find this clip real quick, and I'll insert it before we break. And yeah, my voice appears to be going. That's fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Just have to find right. Come on. I thought I just. Over a clip I've seen like over and over again. Okay, here we go. I think this is it. Okay. Actually, this is only 1 minute. Let me play the whole thing. I'll put in a good quality version later, but let me I'll just play it over my phone. Crap. Okay. Let's switch account. Curmudgeon's Corner. My name is Assembly Member Zahran. Okay, I got this queued up, and okay, okay. As
you need to drink some. You're.
These are empty. Okay, give me a second.
Yeah, you need water. You sound awful. Yeah.
Excuse me, Jetsky. Excuse me. I'm getting some water.
It's true.
Okay. Okay. Okay, as blah, blah, blah. Okay, and as promised, I looked up that debate clip of Mamdani. So here's a little bit of the mayoral debate. It includes Mamdani talking, then a little bit of Cuomo, then Mamdani's response. It's about a minute long. Here we go.
Family members of Ron Mamdani, and
Wait.
I'm running to make the city affordable.
Wait. Here we go.
My name is Assembly Members of Ron Mamdani, and I am running to make the city affordable. I'll freeze the rent for millions of tenants, make buses fast and free, and deliver universal childcare. And before you ask, I'll pay for it by taxing the rich.
To put a person in this seat at this time with no experience is reckless and dangerous.
To Mr. Cuomo, I have never had to resign in disgrace. I have never cut Medicaid. I have never stolen hundreds of millions of dollars from the MTA. I have never hounded the 13 women who credibly accused me of sexual harassment. I have never sued for their gynecological records, and I have never done those things because I am not you, Mr. Cuomo. And furthermore, the name is Mamdani, M-A-M-D-A-N-I. You should learn how to say it because we got to get it right.
Oh my God, even demolished him. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean, and that has been that's the one I've seen the most. And like I said, people have been making remixes of it, putting a beat behind it, all this kind of other stuff. But that is typical of how he is responding to things. And again, it's about the energy.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah.
No, and it's about, like how he didn't, let it pass. For example, the fact that he's credibly accused sexual assaulter who resigned in disgrace.
And all the other things he listed.
And all the other things he listed. It's like the same thing. It's like when you approach Donald Trump and you normalize him instead of basically referring to him as Mr. 37 felonies.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's who he is. He is a convicted felon who happens to be president of the United States. And a convicted rapist also, because he was found to be a rapist by a civil court as well and liable for it. Okay. Yeah. And the defamer.
Technically not convicted. It's found liable, but yes.
That's what I said. Found liable.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know. You said convicted first. I was making
convicted,
it clear for the record.
But it was, but it was in this. I said civil court. I did not say criminal.
Okay?
Yeah. So,
Okay. Let's take a quick break and then zoom through some SCOTUS stuff. We're and then wrap this sucker up. Back after this.
You're supposed to say do. Do. Alex Amzela! Alex Amzela is awesome. Its videos are fun. And today, once again, we have one of our most loyal subscribers here to tell you how awesome Alex Amzela is.
I'd say on a rate from 1 to 10, Alex Amzela is awesome at, 37, 82. He's pretty radical. His videos are phenomenal. They're full of creativity. And
they're so funny and exciting to watch.
Wow, what happened to your voice then, Amy? Was that Dad pretending to be you? Because the audio was distorted when it really wasn't? Because I told him to?
Yes!
Good job on remembering, Dad. Do.
Okay. Supreme Court.
Yeah.
There were a number of cases. As usual, the majority of them were bad in one way or another. There was the Supreme Court upheld age verification for porn in Texas. The Supreme Court ruled that you had to a law requiring parental opt-out for any book with gay characters was legitimate. in schools. There were a couple others, but the one that got the biggest attention, people have been calling it the birthright citizenship case, but it's not actually about birthright citizenship because it is prompted by that case. But the appeal that was in front of the Supreme Court was about nationwide injunctions and whether or not those were appropriate. And basically the court said, no more nationwide injunctions. I think they allowed some very limited cases still.
No more nationwide injunctions unless the cases were class action suits. There's
the class action suit wouldn't be a nationwide injunction. It would be an injunction on the class action
upon the class
against
the class. So the thing is that they just said that you couldn't get blanket injunctions like that unless A, I guess you filed in every jurisdiction. You had to or B, it was against a class, a specified class that was nationwide. There was a whole bunch of things. Here's my listen. Here's my problem.
Give your hot take first.
My hot take is very simple. Okay. During the Biden administration, during the Obama administration, we had a lot of people, conservatives, that specifically went and shopped for certain jurisdictions that would go and look at certain cases and issue this kind of injunction, because they would find one friendly jurisdiction that would take it, and they would always go there. In Texas, there was one specifically that was famous for basically taking a lot of these cases, and they would wind up blocking a lot of actions on student debt and a whole bunch of stuff or whatever using this tool. Okay. And it was very, it was very obstructive. Okay. I don't, and so I found it that, I remember that one of the changes that happened during time was that it was making it more difficult for people to shop jurisdictions that could give those injunctions, okay, for a while, because those injunctions were very, they were happening by some low-level court on some fucking case where all of a sudden presidential, any policy could get blocked real quickly. Okay.
So
now, of course, Trump is the one that goes and challenges it.
Well, no, just to be clear, this
challenges the policy.
No, but just to be clear, nationwide injunctions had been challenged before by Biden most recently, but the Supreme Court declined to do anything about it while Biden was president.
Right. And now they did it when Trump was president.
Yeah.
And so the thing is that in a vacuum, this had been something that, Democrats had challenged repeatedly over, had failed. And now the thing is, that's annoying, is that it happened now in this way. So in a vacuum, it's, I'm like, okay, this kind of makes sense. But in practical terms, it's what you said. They declined to hear it when Biden was president, and then Trump is president, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, you're right, this shouldn't happen.
So here's the thing. A lot of these can go through as class actions instead. And so that's already happened in the birthright citizenship.
Right.
There have been several cases already filed just within the first 48 hours, right?
Right.
To do this as a class action instead.
Yeah.
But this affects potentially all kinds of policies of all different sorts that some of them are maybe more amenable to class actions than others.
Right.
And so what we end up in is potentially a situation, because what they said specifically is you can enjoin an action, but only in respect to the specific plaintiffs that have a complaint at a given time.
Right.
Now, if you have a natural class, then, okay, we'll do a class action lawsuit. And then if we get an injunction, it'll be against the whole class, right?
Right.
But in cases where it's harder to clearly identify who will be affected as a class, what it essentially ends up being is that until or unless you actually sue and get an injunction individually, one by one, your rights can't be respected.
Yeah, exactly.
Because what we've said here is the court can't just say this law fundamentally violates people's rights, so nobody can act on this law until it finishes going through the legal process. And by the way, even with all of these other injunctions, of course, typically speaking, they would make their way up through the courts and they would eventually get resolved one way or another. The injunction was until it could be resolved in that way.
Right.
But in this case, it's potentially saying like the birthright citizenship case can be done as a class. So it may not be the best example, but let me use it as an example for simplicity. What it would be saying right now is that Trump's policy of saying you are not a citizen just because you were born here, you have to have had parents that were born here in certain circumstances, blah, 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 as well. You couldn't have been under certain visas. You couldn't have been here illegally. All of the things he's trying to put in there. You couldn't just say, no, until that's all legally resolved by the Supreme Court. You still have all your full citizenship rights. Instead, you could say none of these people have citizenship rights unless they sue for them and win the first round in court to get an injunction. And so what some of the dissents from the liberals said is basically this automatically says essentially that the government can violate rights left and right unless you are savvy enough to get a lawyer, you can afford to get a lawyer, and it can be a good lawyer who gets you in. Like the default is, government decides to start violating some rights, they get to do so until or unless. And so it just puts a lot more power on the government. And you're absolutely right. Both Democrats and Republicans, assuming we have a Democratic president again sometime in the future, it puts a lot more power in the executive.
Yes.
And this is in complete keeping with this court's general philosophy of expansive executive power. They are reducing the power of the courts. They are reducing the power of Congress. Generally speaking, with a few notable exceptions, but they generally speaking believe that yes, the president should hold very, very strong powers to be able to do a lot of things unsupervised and without checks and balances.
Yep.
Fundamentally, like back when I was listening to Schoolhouse Rock, it seemed like, checks and balances were the entire fucking point of the Constitution. Is to make things hard, to make sure you didn't have concentrations of power.
But let's be clear about this. The biggest problem here has been like over time, the fucking Congress has abdicated their
and now the courts are too.
Well, to a certain extent, yes, the courts have said, well, we shouldn't have jurisdiction on it, and Congress, has basically washed their hands and said, it's not our
the end result. And look, this has been a continuous trend since the country was founded. Slowly but surely, more and more power has gone to the executive. It's just with some ups and downs along the way. But if you compare to the amount of power George Washington had to the amount of power Donald Trump is accumulating, and look at the trend in between, it's gone one way, basically. The president accumulating more and more power over time.
Well, we had a minor blip.
We've had a few blips along the way.
We've had a few blips.
But the overall
we had two blips. I think FDR had a pushback. Well, think about, for example, how we had the amendment limited presidential terms to 2
after he died.
After he died, but
it wasn't any pushback while he was alive.
But hey, it happened. Okay, all right. So so you had that, and then Watergate.
Yeah,
I do think it's like everything, man. I don't know. I have to believe that there will
Pendulums
be a
again.
pushback.
Pendulums. Pendulums.
There's gonna be a pushback
Dialectics.
against this because it's just, it's just ridiculous. I mean, at some point you're gonna get another Speaker of the House that's more Tip O'Neill, less this loser that we've got right now. What's his name? Johnson, whatever fucking name. And I'm supposed to know his name. He's so forgettable. We'll get some guy.
Hey, but he's lasted.
Like,
we all thought he would be gone much sooner.
Listen, I gotta give him credit for survival, but I also think I also believe that part of it has to do with the fact that nobody wants the fucking job. Because I've seen this happen before, like in companies where all of a sudden, so how did this guy get to ESVP? It's like, well, nobody really wanted that fucking job.
Yeah. Anyway, the SCOTUS stuff ties back into the optimism and pessimism we started the show with, because this is one of the things where even if, we end up in 2029 with a Democratic trifecta, they take the presidency, they take the Senate, they take the House, which, look, if Donald Trump keeps screwing things up and makes things worse, then that's the natural reaction to that, right?
Right.
But even if we have that, it's still going to be a long time before the balance in SCOTUS changes, unless you have a Democratic Congress and president who's actually willing
to fucking
reform
pack
the court.
Right.
Which we did not have last time around.
No. But I got to tell you something. Whoever is a Democrat wins. I foresee far more Mamdani.
Yes,
for sure.
Yes.
And look, I'm not gonna. And I'll say this again because I love Joe. I think Joe had a good idea. His idea of what he wanted is an idea that, I mean, in a vacuum, appealed to me.
Going back to like decades old.
Yeah. That appealed to me.
Blah, blah, blah.
But unfortunately, the reality wasn't that.
Well, and I think that's one of the things we have to see is how all of this plays out between establishment Democrats and the new wave as it is. At this point, I'm rooting for the new wave. I think
I'm rooting for the new wave.
The establishment
new wave. Fuck this shit.
Don't have what it takes.
Catch the wave. Coke.
Coke. Yes.
Oh no, it's not. Oh, that's not the wave
Pepsi.
we're talking about.
Catch the
Coke. That was the slogan for Coke for a while.
Oh,
Catch
that's right.
The wave, Coke.
It was. But Pepsi's got the little wave on their bottles too. The little ball. The little ball has a wave.
More like
in the
a
middle.
yin yang ball, isn't it?
It's sort of, but this is a little wave in the middle. But yes, Coke has the wave. Like yes. Anyway, yeah, I feel like the Supreme Court is one of the reasons why the damage from Trump, both terms, I think has a lifespan of many decades.
But Sam,
right away.
Hillary's emails, man. Come on.
Oh my fucking God. Yes.
Her fucking emails.
I mean,
in an unsecure server. Those recipes, Sam.
Yes. Even after the 2016 election, I said it would take decades to recover from one term of Donald Trump. Hell, even before the election, I said even the fact that he was the nominee would take a long time to recover from, even if he lost in 2016. I think the fact that not only did he win, but then he won again, admittedly after a break, but he won again after January 6th, after a completely disastrous first term. He still won again. And the damage that we are going to see over this is going to last a long time. I hope your optimistic view is right, and that we get a lot of dramatic change to undo this stuff quickly once he's no longer in power, but I'm not sure. I think it's going to take a lot longer than that, because you also have to remember that what he's stirred up is not just him anymore. It is an entire movement. It is a more than half of the voters. I'm not going to say they wanted this, because there were a lot of ignorant people who at this point are being like, I didn't vote for that. But
I do think that a lot. Okay, I know that there's a lot of it tied to that, but I think that there is a significant portion that is just a cult of Trump, and so that's one of the things about getting rid of Trump. That despite the fact that I know that it is a big movement, it's a cult. It's a cult of the person.
yeah,
Listen,
so far nobody else in MAGA has shown, like Vance.
Oh,
no.
come on.
I mean, I know he's been pumping up like Trump Jr. or something, but really, nobody else on that side has yet to show a lot of strong signs of being able to be the natural heir to pick up in the same way as Donald has. And so we'll see. You're right. Lots of times when these personality-driven movements have the leader die or otherwise move off the stage, they fall apart. Cross my fingers.
Okay, I need to stop for 1 second. An alarm is going off. I don't know what the hell's going on.
It's off.
We need to wrap this up. I don't know. Quickly.
I
2 seconds.
know,
I don't have time for this.
I hear you. Okay, well, that's about it. Yeah, well, as usual, we'll see how the future plays out. Like, we don't get to actually skip ahead years like you suggested at the beginning. Anyway, curmudgeons-corner.com. You know where to find us. All the ways to contact us. Again, if you are interested in the Curmudgeon's Corner meetup on Wednesday, July 2nd, contact us in any of those ways there. Let us know, and we will let you know the exact place and time as soon as we know it. Just give us feedback anyway. Tell us what you think of the show. Also on there, you can find our transcripts, all of that, archive of old shows. You can, you can give us money on the Patreon.
Wrap it up. I need to go. Thank you, everybody. I need to go. Okay? All right. Goodbye, everybody.
I'll wrap it up without you, Yvonne. Go.
Okay.
Go.
But how is that going to work?
I will still be here once you just hang up and make sure. Okay. Okay. And of course, go to our Patreon. Give us money. We like money. Money. And at various levels, we will mention you on the show. We will send you a postcard. We will send you a mug. The mugs are nice. I've been drinking out of the mug during the podcast here. At $2 a month or more, or if you just ask us, we will invite you to the Curmudgeon's Corner Slack, where Yvonne and I and a bunch of listeners are chatting throughout the week. Normally, I would ask Yvonne right now to give a highlight from the Curmudgeon's Corner Slack, but he had to run because an alarm was going off at his house or something. So I'm closing up without him. If you are in the Seattle area, we would love to see you. Drop us a line. We'll let you know where we're meeting. It would be great to see you and talk to you in person. Other than that, hey, everybody, have a great week. Have a fun time. Do good things. All that goody gumdrop stuff. Anyway, have a great week. We'll talk to you next time. Hopefully we'll see some of you in person between now and then. And we'll see you on the next show. Goodbye. Okay. And now, stopping for real. Goodbye again.